When we think about growth, we usually think about adding something new, right? A new habit, a new skill, another goal to chase. But what if real growth actually starts with letting go? What if it begins by removing what's just not working for you anymore? Today, we're going to look at this idea through a really simple lens, a spring cleaning, but for your mind. Just let that sink in for a second. It completely flips the script on self-improvement. It suggests that maybe it's not about this endless race for more, but about a conscious, careful act of simplifying. It's about making space before you even try to build something new. So, to really get a handle on this, let's use a metaphor. Just for the next few minutes, imagine your mind is a house. And it's not just any house. It's the one you live in every single day. It's where you experience your entire life. It's a place you know inside out, it's beloved, it's familiar. But like any home we've lived in for years, it can get, well, a bit cluttered. And I'm not talking about physical stuff. I mean that invisible clutter, old beliefs, emotions we've been avoiding, and just all the mental noise we've learned to step over and live with. Now, this part is absolutely crucial. This process isn't about harsh self-criticism or tearing the house down, not at all. Think of it more like an act of care, a gentle, thoughtful renovation to make your inner space feel more intentional, clear, and honestly, just more livable. So where do we start? Well, any good renovation begins with the foundation, right? You've got to check the blueprints. And in our mind house, those blueprints, they're our core beliefs. They're the very structure holding everything else up. Okay, so what exactly are core beliefs? They're those really deep-seated ideas we have about who we are and how the world works. The tricky thing is, a lot of them were formed years ago, maybe when we were kids or after a tough experience, and we just sort of accepted them as facts. But here's the catch. Just because something is familiar doesn't make it true. And this leads to a really powerful question you have to ask yourself. If you take an honest look at your mental blueprints, do they still support the kind of life you want to build today? Or are they plans for a house you might have already outgrown? This is exactly the kind of shift we're talking about. It's so powerful. An old, dusty blueprint might say, I'm not good enough, but a renewed view can confidently state, I am unfinished, not broken. See the difference? It's a deliberate choice to move from a foundation of helplessness to one of real possibility. Okay, let's move on to the next task in our renovation. A real deep clean goes way beyond just wiping down the surfaces you can see. It means you've got to move the furniture and get into those dusty, hidden corners we usually just ignore. In our minds, those are our avoided emotions. Here's the thing about the feelings we try to push away. They don't just vanish into thin air. Ignoring them is like letting dust and cobwebs pile up in the corners of a room. You might not look there very often, but eventually all that dust starts affecting the air quality of the entire house. Those avoided emotions, they don't stay quiet. They show up in our behavior, but often in disguise. What's so revealing here is how one feeling can wear the mask of another. That constant irritation you might feel, it could actually be unspoken disappointment under the surface. Or that relentless drive for perfectionism. So often that's rooted in a deep-seated fear. These feelings find a way out, and just recognizing these patterns is the first step to truly cleaning the room. So, what's our tool for dusting these corners? It's a skill called emotional labeling, and it's simpler than it sounds. It's the practice of just naming a feeling, clearly, without judging it. Just saying, I feel hurt, or, okay, I am anxious right now. The magic here is that naming it doesn't make it bigger, it actually makes it more manageable. Awareness isn't a weakness, it's the very first step toward having some control. All right, so the foundation has been checked, the dusty corners have been tended to, the inside is starting to feel a lot clearer, so now it's time to improve our view of the world outside. It's time to wash the windows. This idea is such a game changer. We often think we are reacting to events themselves, but we're not. We are reacting to our interpretation of those events. Our automatic thoughts, our assumptions, they act like filters. They're like a layer of grime on a window that colors and distorts everything we see. The good news is we can actively clean these filters. And it's not that complicated. It's really just a process of being intentionally curious. It all starts with simply noticing that automatic negative thought when it pops up. Then you just take a step back and ask, what's the story I'm telling myself here? And then, is there any other possible explanation? That final step is a huge mental shift, trying to replace fear with curiosity. These questions interrupt our mental autopilot and stop a distorted view from becoming our reality. So after checking the blueprints, dusting out the corners, and washing the windows, we can finally step back and just appreciate the work. The house feels different, doesn't it? It feels clearer, lighter, and way more intentional. And let's be really, really clear about the goal here. It is not to create some sterile, perfect, empty house. That's not realistic, and it's not even desirable. The real prize is creating a consciously renewed space, an inner world where you have more room to breathe, to think clearly, and to focus on the things that actually matter to you. Ultimately, this mental spring cleaning isn't a one-time project you finish and then forget about. It's an ongoing practice of care and maintenance. It's a commitment to consistently making space for what you value most. So as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with a direct question. Looking at your own inner house, with all its different rooms and corners, what's the one thing, maybe it's a dusty old belief, a hidden emotion, or a smudged perspective, what's the one thing you'll choose to clean up this week?